Life is a storm, my young friend. You will bask in the sunlight one moment, be shattered on the rocks the next. What makes you a man is what you do when that storm comes. You must look into that storm and shout as you did in Rome. Do your worst, for I will do mine. Then the fates will know you as we know you, as Albert Mondego, the man.
Welcome to the Bread and Thorns podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bread and Thorns podcast. We've been on a massive hiatus. I think ever since November, something like that.
No, end of November.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So happy New Year, happy 2021, everybody.
Woo-woo.
We made it through 2020.
Heck yeah.
Although recent events have made 2021 a little bit kind of
The
weird.
roller coaster's still going. We're just appreciating that the roller coaster of last year has happened.
Maybe everybody's on the lunar calendar and everything will calm down in February. So
Maybe. We'll see.
Let's hope so. But welcome to the Bread and Thorns podcast.
Woo!
We are a bi-weekly podcast where we sit down and discuss literature, art, media, and all the other stuff that we really like and how they influence the projects that we're working on. I'm Isaac.
And I'm Rosemary.
And today we're going to discuss...
The Count of Monte Cristo!
Rosemary was really prepared for that. I forgot how to say it as we were going to do that. The Count of Monte Cristo. A 2002 film starring a bunch of people,
Yes.
including Jesus, Jim Caviezel, Guy Pearce, who is one of my favorite actors, and then a lot of other people that I don't really know. Henry Cavill isn't here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Superman. It was interesting to see Jesus and Superman.
And Dumbledore.
Oh, that's right, Dumbledore was in here.
Jesus and Superman and Dumbledore.
Yeah, that was pretty great to see. This movie is directed by Kevin Reynolds, who I do not know. Actually,
Kevin Reynolds he has a lot of really bad movies.
Oh, okay. With that ringing endorsement for this movie.
Hey, this movie, everyone who I know that like enjoys this kind of movie, who watches this movie, falls in love with the movie.
That's good to know.
It's a good movie. This is not a kind of movie that you'd be interested in, so I'm okay with that. I love this movie so much, and part of it's just because of, like, I love the book, and then I watch the movie, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's like reading Pride and Prejudice versus, like, watching Pride and Prejudice. Like, you're aware that they are both two separate things and the same thing, and you love them anyways, and... So anyway.
So that was a pretty interesting summary, or way to go about our summary. For those who don't know, The Count of Monte Cristo is a 2002 American historical adventure film that is an adaptation of an 1844 novel of the same name,
By
according to Wikipedia.
Alexandre Dumas. I'm really, 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 really bad with French, and I don't like French. Like, I love French, but I don't ever want to really learn how to speak it. And so I'm not good with accents on that yet. Anyway, but yeah, no, he has a beautiful name and beautiful writing style. And he also wrote like Three Musketeers, several other things.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
That was the other thing that he wrote.
He is amazing.
Yeah, so the film basically follows the main plot, or I wouldn't say the main plot, but just the main spirit of the plot of the book. As I found out when I was researching the movie after I watched it. So it follows it generally with, you're talking about imprisonment and revenge and,
Swashbuckling.
Oh, yes, swashbuckling. With all that. And this is obviously, for our listeners should know, this is not on my list of top 10.
What?
But
Isaac,
is.
This isn't in your top 10 movies of all time? I am so,
This might
surprised.
make the top 1,000.
Oh, hey, actually, that's a better ringing endorsement than I thought you would give it, so that's okay.
1,000th being maybe this movie. I actually, after watching this movie, and I just watched it last night.
That's not surprising.
I was dreading, actually.
I'm also not surprised.
But after watching this movie, I had a difficult time placing it in my head, whether it was better or worse than Princess Bride. And I came to the conclusion last night that it was worse than Princess Bride. So I like Princess Bride more than this movie, but that puzzled me a little bit because
You didn't like Princess Bride. Oh, okay. All right.
Princess Bride is your number 4. What is the Count of Monte Cristo?
Count of Monte Cristo is my number 2.
Number 2.
So I disagree with Isaac. I actually like the Count of Monte Cristo more than I like Princess Bride, which I was extremely startled by and surprised by because, like, I grew up with Princess Bride. I have most, if not, like, depending on what time of year it is and how recently I've watched it, I have most, if not all of the movie memorized and can speak it word for word. Like, I have like the music like in my head, like it's beautiful and gorgeous and amazing and I love it and the costumes are fantastic. And then I watched this is also a recent change. Like this movie, Count of Monte Cristo, got on my list like within the last year and a half. And so it's something where for it to be something where like I didn't discover it until the last year or so, and it's like on my list as my top 2. Like I was just extremely impressed and I fell in love with it, and that's so but Count of Monte Cristo is number 2.
You read the book before watching the movie?
I read the book when I was like 11.
And you didn't read it since?
I haven't read it since, but it's something where it has...
Because from what I remember from research, this movie deviates quite a bit from the actual book.
Especially with the ending. The movie is very like movie version ending. But hey, I love the ending.
I will have some words for the ending.
We will both have words. My words will just be more positive and praising.
I will have few words because I try to be positive.
No, I want the negative opinion. Give it to me. You were okay. Anyway, it's something where I really, really love this movie, and it's something where with the way that they play it all out, it's kind of like when you watch like Lord of the Rings, where you have like that, like, okay, the books are beautiful and amazing and wonderful and fantastic and epic and beautiful. I'm gonna say that twice because it's worth it. And then you have like the movies, and it's a different thing, and it's still as amazing and beautiful and wonderful and fantastic. It's just different. So it's one of those like, you have this one, you have this one. Okay, I love them both. They are just separate. I don't compare them. I just love them. No, it is fun to compare sometimes.
All right, so this is your movie. Do you want to give us a summary of it before we dive into it?
All right, simple summary. Basically...
Is this the spoiler-free summary, or is it the spoiler-filled summary?
Do you want the spoiler-free one? Like,
all right, guys, if you haven't seen this movie, Rosemary recommends it.
Spoilers!
I will recommend
listening to the podcast and hearing the review.
Right.
Listening to the review of Count of Monte Cristo.
But if you don't want to be spoiled, if that is your goal, then of course watch the movie before we get into...
I can do a spoiler-free one and then say, after this, now go watch it, then come back.
Okay, sure.
So,
Let's do the
the spoiler-free one. The spoiler-free one is basically you have this young man, Edmond Dantes, who is just about to get everything he has ever wanted in his life. He's going to become captain of a ship. He is engaged to this beautiful, beautiful woman. His best friend and him work on the same ship together. Like, everything funds it anyway, but everything's working together. He's so happy and proud, and then his life falls apart. And basically, he is thrown in prison after being falsely accused for something, and several different things happen where the 3 or 4 men who have like orchestrated this downfall of this innocent, naive, hopeful young man, and then he spends the next few years basically plotting revenge. And so the rest of the story is the revenge as well as the love story and how everything else works. And
the timeline of this movie actually takes place across some 16 to
17
20
years.
16, 17 years. That very long length of time.
Yeah.
Is that the same way in the book?
Yes.
Or is it okay?
Yeah. No, it's the same way in the book. Honestly, again, I haven't read the book in like 12 years.
Oh, so
it's
you're
something where at the end of the book, it's more like I try to talk about things that I know about or have like really valiant opinions of. The book is something where like
opinions.
I don't know, it was the word that came up.
Your opinions are very brave for
yes,
this movie.
I like having brave and courageous opinions. And so it's something where with the book, I remember loving the book, and I know that book and that plot line have inspired so many things, and they have like bled themselves into like all the different projects that I've worked on, all the different characters that I've created, like bits and pieces of that have bled into the things that I love and the things that I create. So it is a very foundational thing. I just haven't picked it. It's a very long book, and so I just haven't picked it up again. And part of it might just be the fear that like it's not going to be as good when I reread it, and like I doubt that because it's a book that's well loved by so many people, like including myself. Like I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm a little amused by that. Anyway,
Maybe we'll do that
But
after we do.
it'll be fun.
Well, sometime after we do these top 10s.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so it's something where that is a spoiler-free version. If you want to go watch the movie, which I highly recommend, and Isaac recommends listening to me, so in a way, he recommends the movie. And
I don't recommend listening to Rosemary for correctional behavior or recommendation, just for entertainment purposes.
I can live with that. I can live with that
I'm just kidding.
outstanding review of me. Anyway, but yeah, I'd highly recommend go
valiant
watching the movie.
review of you.
They have it on a couple different platforms, and it's free on YouTube. I hope it doesn't get taken down because I've said this. But
It's quite a long movie.
beautiful.
I was surprised. It's about 2 hours and 10 minutes, I believe.
Something like that.
And so it is.
But it's paced so well. Like, okay, wait, no. So anyway, that was a spoiler-free version, okay? So if you want to, go watch it and then come back and listen to the rest of this and listen to me geek out about this movie and drag Isaac's opinions out of him. Anyway, but go watch the movie, have fun, and come back to us, and yeah.
All right, so what is the spoiler-filled?
Okay, so spoiler-filled version. So basically, Edmond Dantes is in the movie, he goes and they land on an island because one of the men are injured. They go on, him and his best friend Fernand meet Napoleon. Napoleon in private is like, oh, you know what? You look like a sucker. Basically, that's what happens. Is you look like a sucker. Here's this letter, and Edmund can't read. So he can't read this letter. So he's just like, all right, I trust Napoleon is going to like be okay with this. And he goes and he takes the letter back to France. And so he goes and he hasn't even given it to anyone yet, but Fernand saw Napoleon give him the letter. And Fernand is very jealous because when Edmund gets back, he is given the captaincy of a ship. And Edmund, after that, goes and gets engaged to Mercedes, beautiful woman who Fernand is in love with. So his best friend is in love with his fiance, and so
Was do you remember if the Napoleon part was in the book?
I am like 90% sure. I believe like 95% sure that yes, that was in there. I'm
Like at the
pretty
very
sure.
beginning
Yeah.
when they crash land on that island.
I don't remember it being. I remember it being a supply ship. And so I remember they were going to like
they
bring
were on
supplies.
like a dinghy.
I don't
beginning
remember. Well, the dinghy was from the ship of like, hey, this man is injured. This
Right.
is the nearest place. Like, I think it was the captain. It was like the captain is injured, and Edmund was like, hey, we need to go save his life. And Fernand and several of the other
It'll be
people
really
on board were
funny
like,
if that's
no.
actually not part of the book.
It would be. I don't. But I know because that whole like betrayal thing, which we're getting to, happens because of Napoleon's letter.
Right. Yeah. So I was actually the reason I asked that was I've never read the book.
Okay.
But as I watched the movie, I felt like there were things about it that they were either skipping over or they were making a very lengthy part short, and it needed more kind of explanation.
Interesting.
And then there were parts that seemed very superfluous to the story. And so one of those parts was in the beginning where they meet Napoleon. And as important as as important as it is that
Okay.
he got the letter to give to whomever, right? Napoleon Bonaparte in my head, and then I think in terms of history, has such a impact on how you view, especially I guess Western literature and Western history. And so the fact that it was Napoleon Bonaparte, to me, and this is of course the spoiler version of our podcast now, or spoiler
Spoilers.
filled part of our podcast.
Spoilers are amazing.
When I saw Napoleon, I was like, oh, cool. Okay, so this is a big part of the story, right? But outside of an announcement that he escaped from
Elba.
right? The Isle of Elba. Island? Whatever. Outside of that,
I really want to know if that affected Idris Elba's name.
maybe. Maybe he's from the Isle of Elba.
No, like his parents were like, this was cool. This was cool.
Maybe
and just like that
Idris
was the thing.
Elba's real name is Napoleon.
Because Idris, I think, it's something to do with like mountain.
Maybe Idris
I could also be wrong. It could be like
a
Castle or
shortened
something.
version
Because one's
of
like Gaelic.
like
I could also be
Tahiti's
horribly
version
wrong, or
of
Welsh.
Napoleon. I don't know. Anyways,
Anyway,
so
yeah.
Napoleon, I thought he was going to play a much bigger part because he's such a prominent figure. But after the island, there's
Nope.
just nothing.
There is mention
about
of him. There's
Yeah.
talk about him. There's stuff that involves like the mention and the support of him, but it's not him.
And so I felt like that was the part where it felt like such a waste of time to, at least in terms, because this film is quite long, right? And I actually disagree with the pacing. I don't like the pacing of the movie. And I'm not saying it's terrible. It's decent for being episodic, but because it's episodic, it doesn't really fit well for me as a film.
Okay.
Right? There were things where, like, later when he escapes onto the smugglers thing, right? He goes to the Isle of Monte Cristo, right? And then he has that map, and they're trying to show you how he's like figuring out these things on the map. But the map is so sudden, kind of. I mean, you kind of see it in the jail cell, right?
Yeah.
But it's so they don't talk about it until
the task isn't important
never.
until it's important.
Except in a film, if you want to tell a very congruent story, you want to actually make it more important, right? There are things in a film that you have to, because films are such condensed media, right? And so you have to break the rules in a lot of ways, and so like good adaptations will break things so in their adaptations so that something that might have in the book or whatever been mentioned later in the book they'll actually drag it earlier because they know that you need the foreshadowing to make that thing clear.
I think it would have been cool, but you're right about the episodic bits where, like, honestly, because the second you said that, I was like, if they had done this in like a 10 episode series or something like that.
And they have, actually. There's been series,
but I
TV
like
series
these
about.
actors.
Right, yeah.
I want this cast to do a 10 episode series.
When Jim, what's his last name? I can't.
Cavill.
Jim Caviezel.
Nope.
Jesus.
Okay, never mind. Yes.
So when he showed up and he was at the prison and he was getting tortured, I was just like, man, this guy just likes portraying people that are tortured or something like that. And so, but anyway, so what was I saying? So it just felt very like every 20 minutes was a contained story, and one thing didn't really flow into the next.
Okay.
Right? And that really bothered me because Napoleon, who is such a big, prominent figure in history, at least in my opinion, it's such a waste to use him if he doesn't figure into the rest of the story.
So in your opinion, the better way to start the movie would have been like to have him already having the letter and then have that friendship, like kind of talking about it.
I would rather have had, and this is just me, of course.
Yeah, go for it.
I would rather have had like the beginning scene of somehow they're just on a ship coming back. And
him like looking at or for not bugging him about the letter. That would have been cool. So
yeah. And so something that's more subtle, something that's more of a hint, rather than this very action-oriented kind of, swashbuckling, I guess, thing that happened at the beginning, and then suddenly Napoleon appears, and he's short, which is kind of funny. But this is not a comedy, right? This is a period drama.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah,
there are funny moments, but it's not supposed to be a comedy.
And so Napoleon shows up, and it's Napoleon because, despite being short, he's like, you have to look up at him, and he's just this prominent figure, and the actor actually does a pretty good job of doing that, despite being short, and then just kind of disappears as the story goes on.
Well, and okay, so for me, my sharing with this is, so with the beginning of the movie, like, okay, so one of my favorite things, okay, and it's so much easier with fictional characters because it's a little weird when you start like falling in love with actual human beings because they get weirded out that you're falling in love with them. However, it's something where I love getting to know people and I love learning how to love people. I love that. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world. And so at the beginning of the movie, like within the first 5 minutes, I'm already just like, aww, Edmond Dantes, he can't read and he's cute and he's just so sweet and he believes and he has hope and there's just like all these beautiful things that you learn about him and you already kind of don't like Fernando. Like he's sassy and fun and you still kind of like him a little bit. By the way, Guy Pearce actually turned down the role for Edmond Dantes because he wanted to be the friend.
Yeah.
Because you like Guy Pearce, so I was like, and you like Guy Pearce as the hero.
Guy Pearce.
I'm amused that he defied you and was like, no.
No,
I'm
I think he did a good
bad
choice.
guy.
I mean, we can get into the characters and everything, but I do. Guy Pearce's portrayal of what was his name?
Fernand.
Fernand. I'm gonna have
The
to pull that
best
up
friend.
because all their names I
That
can't
was bad.
remember, except Count of Monte Cristo, who is actually Edmond.
I
Dantes?
basically remember
Dantes.
Edmond Dantes, Mercedes is the fiance, Fernand is the best friend.
Mercedes. That's right.
I just call the priest. I think it's like no, it's not nope. See,
Apparently
it's gone. Priest.
Abbe Faria.
Fari. Okay.
I don't know. It's French.
Yeah,
I can't read.
Abbe Faria, but like Fari, and then Danglars is like the guy who was like, oh no, I should be made captain, and then the other guy was like, yeah, but you trash, and it was like, Edmund, you get to be captain.
Yeah, so
But
Guy
yeah,
Pearce as
that's about
Fernand Mondego. I actually really appreciated his role because his character is probably the one that pulled me through the movie.
Well, you also like Guy Pearce,
without-
so that helps.
No, not just that, but his
writing was well
portrayal.
done.
His portrayal and the writing for that character, I think, was much better than almost every other character.
Well, he's the main guiding factor because without his jealousy, without his just like continuous jealousy, this wouldn't have happened.
Yes, but but you want your protagonists to be just as strong as their counterpart, right? And so, but I felt like, although I'm going to call him Jesus.
Okay.
Jim Caviezel.
Just say Jim. Say Jim.
No, I can't
You
do
sure?
that. We're not on first name basis.
We should
So-
email him and be like, hey, can we call you Jim in our podcast?
I mean, you can do that if you want.
But then I'll call him Jim and you'll still be trying
Apparently,
to
he's
say
a really
his
nice
last
guy.
name.
So
Not surprising.
But he does a great job portraying what they gave him, which to me is really great. But the character himself was kind of boring as I was watching. You could tell he's like this nice guy, but that's about it.
Okay.
And then the other side of me was like bothered by the fact that I was watching Jesus and I couldn't get rid of that image. Like, because
Beautiful.
Passion of the Christ is just sealed into my brain.
I am very proud. Like, okay. Yes, I'm Christian. Yes, I love that. However, I have I have one Christian movie that I genuinely love, don't have any problems with, and actively endorse. I have one, and it is not that one.
Oh.
So
well,
I don't go out of my way to watch that movie at all, ever.
either way, it's just that
So it's not
the
ingrained for
tortured
me.
face of
Thankfully.
Christ with Caviezel on there. And then when I watch this movie, I'm like, okay, I guess it kind of plays well because Jesus is a, nice character.
Nice can be used. I feel like there's other words, but yeah.
I was being ironic, but obviously Jesus is all good, right? But so this character itself is meant to be a good character.
Well, also a
so
twisting
when he
of that
goes,
too.
sure, and
then an untwisting. It's great.
And then when we get to that part, I'm gonna have a few problems there as
Oh
well.
yes.
So anyways,
Okay.
so Guy Pearce really for me dragged this movie through in
Okay.
terms of kind of my character, the character. What do you call it? Sympathy? I don't know. Connection? Something, whatever.
Sympathetic villain character?
No,
person?
I wasn't.
Oh,
I didn't
no.
sympathize with him, but he kind of just drew me into the movie whenever he was on screen, until the end, which we'll talk about later. And
I didn't need. No, that works.
go ahead with your
Okay,
summary. Sorry.
so, basically, best friend works with the guy who didn't get chosen as captain, to like take down this guy's life and say like, hey, this guy got a letter from Napoleon, blah 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 blah, and so he gets arrested as like, hey, are you a Bonaparte supporter? Like, how like da 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 like, this is a really big deal. And he's like, dude, I can't read. Like, I literally didn't know. I did it on trust. He said it was a personal letter, like to a friend. It was just a personal thing. It wasn't like a military thing. He said, he gave his word that it wasn't. And so when Villefort opens the letter and he's like, dude, this is literally like military plans. He's like, I didn't know. Like, he just trusted that Napoleon Bonaparte was being honest. Poor guy. But, yeah, and then it was something where Villefort was about to let him go because this guy's just this naive, hopeful, just beautiful young man, and he's just like, oh, to be a fool, like just to be a young fool. All right, please go and learn how to like take care of yourself. And he's gonna let him go. And he's like, wait a second, who did Napoleon say to give it to? And what you find out later is that it was Villefort's father. And so Villefort gets Edmond Dantes thrown into big bad huge prison island thing that I don't. Oh, what's it called?
Chateau
d'If. Yes,
d'If.
Chateau d'If. Chateau d'If. But it's something where I love that name. It's so ridiculous and it's so French, but I love it.
What does it mean? Do you know?
Nope, it's not the despair one. It's like it's not death. I don't remember, but
it's something really obvious.
It's I thought it was something based on
isolated,
fact.
lonely, dead. I don't know.
It might just be stone.
Oh.
It might just be stone prison because it's an
Stone.
island.
Stone Castle.
Oh,
Okay.
oh.
That's
Castle in the sea. Anyway,
maybe
yeah.
there's some literary significance or symbolism there.
I do not know these things. you are asking questions that I do not know the answer to. But yeah, so it's something where he gets thrown into Chateau d'If, and he spends the next 16 years. I think in the book it might be 20, but I know in the movie it's 16. It's basically 16 years.
16.
It might even be 15 and a half.
You're probably right.
Oh, wait, no, because he spends time in between, so it's like 14.
Right.
It's like 13, 14 years in Chateau d'If, I think. Because there's time in between him escaping and him actually seeing Mercedes again. So there's time in between. But basically, he's in the prison for a really long time. And the first 3 or 4 years, he's just like, he's depressed. He loses his faith. He's just like, I just want this nightmare to end. Like, I don't know how I will ever do any of this. And he doesn't even understand why he's there. He still has no idea why he's there. The only thing that he knows is that Fernand betrayed him. And that's how they knew about the letter. And that was it. And so, anyway, it was this big, that's it. That's all he had. And
I actually really liked this part of the movie.
Yeah.
Where
the prison stuff?
Yes. The
Oh, no,
prison
it was
stuff.
amazing.
I think.
Oh, it was so good. I was so worried the first time I watched it was going to be so boring. And then it wasn't. And it was well written and well paced. Okay, I thought it was well paced. And I was just like, this is amazing. So, sorry. Please.
No, that's okay. The actor for the friar guy, the priest.
Yeah. But you could just say Dumbledore.
Yeah, I'm just going to say Dumbledore.
Dumbledore.
So when Dumbledore showed up, I actually didn't recognize him as Dumbledore because the Dumbledore for most of the movies is the other guy.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the Dumbledore just for the first two.
First three.
First three. Is it first three? I thought it was first two.
Oh,
I
no,
might be
you're
wrong
right.
about
It is
that.
first two. Nope, you're right. You're
Okay.
right.
I could
It might
be
just be
wrong.
the Philosopher's Stone.
No, I'm pretty sure there was
Did he do it?
it
He
was
was
the
in
same
two,
for
right?
the first two.
Yeah,
I'm
because
not
he was
sure
soft
about
and quiet.
number
He was the
three.
perfect Dumbledore. He was a good Dumbledore.
Right.
He was
He didn't
quiet.
shout at Harry when Harry's name appeared in the Goblet of
Hey,
Fire.
did you put on the Goblet of Fire? He
That
said
was so
softly.
weird.
It's so beautiful. Oh,
was-
I love how everyone's enraged about that. Like, I'm
You
genuinely
should
pleased
kind of
that
be.
everyone's upset. Like, everyone should be angry. A boundary was violated. You should be angry. Anyway.
Anyways, back
Oh, yeah.
to Count of
Dumbledore.
Monte Cristo. But when Dumbledore showed up, I was like, okay, this is going to be... Because the way that he shows up is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Right? He just appears into... I wasn't getting the whole horror vibe. I was actually thinking this was kind of funny. And
Yeah.
when it
for
happens...
Edmund, it would have been terrifying.
Right.
For us, we're like...
when you're kind of watching
That's
that
sad.
part, it's just this old dude that just
Yeah.
pops up out of the ground, and I really appreciated that. So I
Little
really
fairy godfather moment.
I didn't associate that,
Oh,
but
in my head, I'm just
I
like...
just thought dwarf. So
Okay,
this dwarf
alright.
comes up, and then they get along.
You read the Artemis Fowl stuff, right?
I've read.
No,
Artemis
you watched the
Fowl.
movie and you hated it. No, but you read the books, though. Yeah.
I've never watched the movie.
Don't watch the movie.
I
Don't.
will
You'll
not
hate it.
watch
Don't
the
watch
movie.
it. Please
I've,
don't. Dear, no.
I've seen parts.
No,
and
no.
I can't.
No. I watched the movie thinking like, okay, it's not gonna be. It's in the ranking of like Percy Jackson movies. Okay, it's so like there
I've
was
never
so
seen a
much
Percy
potential.
Jackson
There was so much
movie.
potential. Anyway, sorry.
So I've read
Basically, but one of the things is dwarf and the digging and stuff, and it was perfect.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
my brain
yeah.
was like, yeah.
what was his name?
Mulch Diggums.
Mulch Diggums.
Mulch.
Right. Man, we're getting off.
Talk about on the nose naming.
Right. I mean, that's what you kind of appreciate
Oh, so
about
good.
that whole series is all the names are very. I mean, Julius Root. You can't get any
great.
more obvious.
It's so great.
So coming back to Monte Cristo again.
Yes.
So when Dumbledore appeared and then Jesus and Dumbledore are talking and getting along, I really liked their kind of
Dynamic.
camaraderie. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really love the character chemistry there, and they did really, really well. I did not like how he died because I thought that was way too obvious. But of course,
I feel like it's also like the only other thing would have been like a heart attack or something, and I still like he was too calm for that. He was
Well-
too master of himself to like be taken out by a heart attack or a stroke or something. So for me, it was like it is obvious, you're right, but it's also like it's the same thing as like, okay, you know that your parents are gonna eventually die, but it still hurts when they do.
well,
Even if
so
it's
with
a normal
with
thing.
him, right? So you're expecting you're kind of as you're watching this movie, you're going, okay, when he's gonna die, when he's
Yeah.
gonna die, when he's gonna die. So, but when such a good character has such a I don't know anticlimactic
Pathetic?
death, it's kind of it's not pathetic death because
But you get
I mean
frustrated with
getting
it.
buried alive really sucks, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not, but it's kind of anticlimactic in the sense that at least for me, it didn't do justice to his character. There could have been a little bit more drama at least in burying him alive, but the burying him alive part was literally just less than 3 seconds. I think rocks came down, he got hit, Jesus came back and dragged him out. Right? There's
Jesus tried
symbology
to
there.
save him.
There's symbology there.
Aw.
Jesus saving Dumbledore. All right.
And
so,
Dumbledore is like the one who's trying to restore Edmund's like faith in God. So for Jesus for Jesus who doesn't like Jesus to save the Dumbledore who
Right.
likes Jesus.
All right, so now we're getting to messed up ironic territory. So, anyways, but for that to happen, I felt
Beautiful.
in terms of the cinema of the moment, it just didn't do the character justice, right?
Okay.
He doesn't have to not be buried alive. I didn't mind the act of or
You just
the
want it to be a little bit
tragedy.
more like
I wanted, or it would have been more impactful had there been a little bit more tension. But because, again, of how episodic,
what kind of tension?
well, and there's a cave in, there should be more tension, right? Like, you can add tension of, can we keep this up while you get out? There's the tension of, I don't really see it yet. There's a lot of tension that you can add into something like a cave in. But all that
can.
happened was Jesus saw the thing go down,
Yeah.
and then Dumbledore saw the thing go down, and then Jesus was like, let's get out of here. And then Jesus hikes it out, and then Dumbledore turns around, tries to hike it out, and then it
Gets
comes
stuck.
down.
Yeah.
No, doesn't get stuck. It just he
Collapses.
doesn't even get stuck. That's the thing, right? You can add tension by him getting stuck, right?
Okay.
He can't get out the way that he
Alright.
wants to, right? So all these things can add up to it, right? There's such a good character,
Yeah.
at least to me. But then he doesn't get stuck.
Yeah.
He's climbing, and then boop,
Mhm.
and then Jesus comes, drags him out,
Yeah.
and they have a talk, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of encapsulates a little bit of how I feel about this movie.
Okay.
About there are these moments that are
So for
Are
you see it as
almost
having like a
there.
lot of potential and they just
Oh, yeah,
didn't quite
sure.
hit it.
I do see the story as having a lot of potential.
Okay.
To me, it's not the swashbuckling story. It's actually the Godfather story. I don't know if you've seen Godfather. You should watch Godfather.
It's on my list.
To
I'm
all
sorry,
our listeners
guys.
who haven't seen The Godfather,
I've had
please
a
go
lot
watch
of-
The Godfather.
People say that.
It's
You
very,
should.
very good
I
movie.
agree. I just haven't watched it, so it's not a recommendation from like understanding. It's a recommendation of just like.
Everyone else has recommended
It's like if you haven't watched Star Wars, you should probably watch Star Wars or like Princess Bride. Like you should probably watch these things to see just how much they've infiltrated and like influenced our culture. But yeah.
Right,
this is why I haven't
The
watched.
Godfather has influenced culture,
Oh, yeah.
especially Hollywood culture,
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot. And so,
Like insanely.
yes, so it's kind of part of that movie is part of the American psyche. And so this movie to me is calling back to that more so than the swashbuckling stuff. Although
Okay.
obviously I do see the swashbuckling part of it. And so when you have that kind of these kinds of deaths of very important characters, you want a little bit more drama, or I want a little bit more drama. I don't know if you want a little bit more drama, but I want a little bit more drama. I want a little bit more kind of just give me a little bit more with this character that you made me feel for.
That's
rather
why
than
you
just-
go read the book.
That is a very bad excuse. I will never take that excuse. So, anyways, Jesus pulls Dumbledore
Jesus
out.
pulls Dumbledore out. Dumbledore dies.
Dumbledore admits that he was
Dumbledore
lying.
dies. Well, it was like, yeah, he was lying. So he lied about the fact that he didn't know where the Count of Spada, or no, it was Duke of Spada.
Oh yeah,
Duke
and
of
that
Spada.
part of the lie I thought they could have done away with. They could have just had him tell him the truth at the beginning, right?
No, but no, in the beginning he didn't trust him. I just think that it was something where like it didn't. I think okay, in my
That's
opinion,
fine to me, but he didn't have to lie.
I feel like it would have been guessed if he hadn't though.
That's fine. Because the mystery wasn't the mystery of the whole that the
It wasn't
jail
whether
part,
or not he knew.
right. The mystery wasn't that, right? It was just kind of if when you look at the sequence where he goes to the Isle of Monte Cristo and he tries to find it, it's not really done in a scavenger way. It's just done in a cinematic way.
There we
you
go.
So a filmic way.
Cinematographical way.
Yes, that's the
Still,
word I was trying to avoid saying.
I'm trying so hard to use that word, and it just doesn't want. My mouth does not want to use that word.
Maybe someday, we will hear someone say it, and then we will all be able to say it. so in a cinematic way, right? It was just you saw the camera panned on a specific parts of the map, and then you saw that.
There's the thing that it
right?
matches. Woo!
And so it wasn't mysterious,
No.
right? So why add the lie, right? And so the little things.
To me, it kind of showed
right?
that he was human, though, because that's one of the
sure.
things. Is like it's like I'm a priest, not a saint, and I was like, I love that.
I hated that.
You hated that.
That callback at the end for that was the most unnecessary callback ever. Like I absolutely hated that. There's so you don't like most quote unquote Christian movies.
Yeah.
I despise almost all Christian movies.
Yeah.
And this is actually part of the reason.
Yeah.
It's because Christian movies, quote unquote, tend to preach rather than give a good story.
Yeah.
And this moment
You think it was a preachy moment?
it was the most preachy
You
moment.
thought it was a preachy moment?
in the entire I hated it.
Oh.
It was like I'm a priest, not a sorry,
Saint.
I'm not a saint, and then I'm a count, not a saint. God will give me justice. It was I hated it so much. And it's not that I don't like preaching, because obviously we go to church and we hear preaching and stuff like that. Or we listen to
there's preaching at people and preaching to people. Most movies, because the audience can't interact with the movie, the idea is that it's always preaching at. There's not really a preaching to.
I don't mind preaching. It's every movie has every good movie has a message. Maybe not The Room. Well, The Room actually. The Room was beautiful. The Room's message is The Room.
No, if I never watch it again, it'll be too soon.
That movie.
The fact that, I can't wait for the day that I forget
This is not
The Room.
on either of our top 10 lists,
No.
but please, everybody, go watch The Room.
No, please don't. It's not worth it. I was like, you know what? Everyone's
watch
told me,
it with people.
No,
Don't watch it alone.
Oh yeah, don't watch it alone.
Do not watch it alone.
But it's just okay. First of all, no, it's uncomfortable on every single level that this movie can be uncomfortable, except for really messed up kid stuff. Thankfully, that's not in there. That's the only thing they leave alone. That's it.
Oh, you mean The Room?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you meant the Monte Cristo. I was like,
no, The Room is just I felt violated during and after the movie.
That's part of the point of the movie.
It's awful.
well,
Please
that's part
don't.
of the ethos that is now surrounding the movie.
That's not. But that wasn't the point. It's just
right.
No.
That was not the director's original vision.
If your personal craving is
Have
for your
you
mind to be
seen-
violated by atrocious films, then yes, go have fun, waste your time, enjoy hating your life. Okay.
I would say The
will
Room-
never tell another human being in my life to ever watch that piece of trash.
I would say The Room's only redeeming quality is the fact that you can sit with people and just laugh at how utterly terrible it is. And it's the movie that you do that with. Not that I'm saying not kind of Monte Cristo is there, but
I would hope not.
Going back to the preaching thing, right?
Mhm.
Every movie has
A point.
that it's trying to come across with. The problem with a lot of preachy movies, and it's not just obviously it's not just Christian movies, but it's a lot of different kinds of movies out there. The problem with those movies is that they have a 10-point sermon that they just they just bash you with over and over and over. But the story that is going along with it doesn't really support. It might support one of those 10 points, but they're
Definitely
trying to
doesn't support all of
shoehorn 9 other ones in there, and you just don't feel it. This was one of those things, right? They're trying to get this. What is it? I'm a count, not a saint. I'm a priest, not a saint. God will give that entire line of messaging does not fit into the story. And
I
that
feel like it's
really bothered me
okay.
because it's to me, because this is not a Christian story,
No.
but to have that kind
far as
of
I can tell, no.
poorly presented Christian message is
It might. Well, no. It might be more. Because at that time, that was what was promoted. So the idea is that would have absolutely bled into everything. So,
You mean
but it
the
wasn't
movie?
supposed to. Yeah. So,
In
or well, no.
2002?
When it was written.
No. But this is a movie
But
adaptation.
it's based on the book.
Sure, but there's lots of movies that are based, like the Chronicles of Narnia when they made the Hollywood version.
Frozen.
Like, there's not much of a,
Sorry.
so it doesn't matter, right? The adaptation of it.
But they would have needed to bleed that in there somehow because I'm pretty sure there's like a ton of references
do
to
it
that in
better.
the book. They should have. I think that was something. Okay, so again, I love this movie. That doesn't mean that like it's like with people. Doesn't mean that they don't have flaws. It just means that I love them with all of their flaws. So with this movie, one of the flaws that it does have for me is the fact that like they don't do a very good job of like just how like depressed this guy is and how much that affects his faith. Like they have to use words. They don't. They don't.
Mean,
yeah.
The Dante's guy, right? The Count.
And so it's something where for him it's this hatred of God, and there's something where like he's upset,
Right.
he's angry, and they don't show it as much as they could.
I don't think they showed it very well at all.
Yeah. And so I get annoyed with that, and then him, because the idea is basically okay. So the spoiler version of this is basically you have this guy. I know. It's basically this guy, this sweet, hopeful, God-loving guy, is basically thrown in prison for something he didn't do by his best friends and the people he thought he could trust. And so when he comes out of prison, so he has this period in prison where you have this priest who's basically trying to say, hey, God still loves you and you're still going to be protected. It's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out.
The line I did like from him, from Dumbledore to Jesus, was I did like this, and I think if they kind of built up into it, it would have been so much of a better moment. But when he said, when Dante's, there you go. When Dante says, "I don't believe in God,"
he said Jim.
Oh yeah. No, I was gonna say Jim Caviezel.
I know.
Then I was like,
wait, stop.
I'm not
Sorry.
gonna
Go back.
No, it's
Dantes.
okay.
Yes.
When Dantes says, "I don't believe in God," and then priest says, "That's okay. He believes in you." That was. I thought that should have been the moment that was building up to.
I liked that moment. It was a good moment.
And then.
Anyway, that moment, he learns how to fight, and oh my gosh, when they took the pieces of wood from the door, that was so cool. I don't know why it was so cool to me. I just didn't think that was what they would do, and then I was like, oh my gosh, and that works. Like, what is this? This is magical. Anyway, just the swords. The swords.
Oh,
they used for the swords, and they took that from the door, and I was like, this is so cool. Anyway, basically, time in prison, Dumbledore dies, and he ends up using the body bag to of Dumbledore. He takes Dumbledore's. I'm still a little bit annoyed because like, why didn't he put him in the tunnel?
I think
like he dragged him all the way back to the other room, and I'm like, why couldn't Dante have just
Right.
disappeared? And then the body's in the tunnel. No one knows where the tunnel is. Like that is another flaw that I'm like, why didn't you do that? And I'm like, maybe
well,
he's
the argument
just
would be he didn't have enough time. Like the movie argument would be. The film argument would be it builds tension. It builds tension.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Anyway, but he ends up being thrown into the ocean while chained. He drags his jailer, the one who's been beating him for the last 11, 12 years, into the ocean with him, kills that guy, unchains himself, and then swims to shore where he meets a band of smugglers who are about to kill one of their own, and he ends up rescuing the man that they're going to kill, and the guy's like, okay, I owe you my life, and he's like, I know. And the smugglers take him on and are like, hey, you're amazing and we love you, and you're gonna smuggle for us or we're gonna kill you, hey. And he becomes a smuggler. He does that, and then afterwards he goes,
at this point in the movie, that's when I felt like this would have been better as a TV series,
because they could have also explored that a little bit. They could have
to get
explored
to
the
know
smuggling.
these smugglers.
Even more swashbuckling could have happened. That would have been so cool. Anyway,
like it would
smugglers,
be cool to mix this world with, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ooh. I literally was thinking that on the way over here. Wow, my mouth. Okay, legitimately thinking about.
Just slow down.
Breathe. It was something where I legitimately was thinking about how if they'd taken a little bit more of like the action sequence type thing from Pirates of the Caribbean and put it in this movie.
Pirates was released in 2003, right?
Yeah.
So this came right
However,
before.
I'm still convinced that that's based on Captain Blood. Just saying, it's an
I'm
older
just
film,
thinking about
and it's absolutely there, but
choreography.
it would have been similar.
Because the
The choreography would have been similar.
of the
I
fence
feel like
fighting.
this one has better.
The fencing in this movie is actually really good.
Yeah.
But the rest of the action sequences are not.
Anyway, but it's something where, well, and for me, it was like, it was.
In my opinion, obviously.
Yeah, well, again, I love the plot and I love these characters. And honestly, at some point, like, part of the reason, okay, when something's on my list, part of it's also like when if for whatever reason we ever do like top 10 fairy tales or something like that, or top 10 like children's stories, when I do that, like the reason why my top 10 are like that is because like these are stories that like I want to at some point do justice to. Like I love them so much that I want to use that some point later on. So with Count of Monte Cristo, with how much this has bled into my life, in my creative life, in the way that I understand people, it's something where this movie is so important to me that like, yes, the action, there are ways that I would absolutely love to have the ability and the time and the casting to just to redo it in a way that honors the book, honors your eyes, and actually takes you into the story where you fall in love with the characters the way that I've fallen in love with the characters. Like I would love to be able to do that, and so at some point maybe I will. But I still like.
Yeah, I would love to see a mix because there are parts of this movie where the cinematography is really gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
it's beautiful. Sorry,
Okay.
it's just gorgeous. Like
so, for example, when they're on the Isle, right, of Monte Cristo, and they're searching for
parts that were filmed
treasure.
in Ireland, by the way.
Yeah, so that
was
part
really cool.
was really, really gorgeous.
Yeah.
Another one that stands out to me is when Guy Pearce, in the beginning, when Guy Pearce and Jesus are fighting, and they're
in the house.
Yeah, in the house, and you
Yeah.
just see this torn, like them tearing it apart and everything. That was really well done.
Oof.
And then
Good stuff.
the scene between Jesus, no, I'm not gonna say Jesus this time. Jim Caviezel, and
Could
who's
just say Dantes.
Oh yeah,
That's
Dantes.
easier.
There you go. All right, between Dantes and Mercedes, the car. No, I'm kidding. So you don't know. Okay, so Mercedes.
No, I'm trying to think of like, wait, what are you talking about?
So she finds out that he is Dantes, right? And then she pursues him to his house, right? And there's that moonlit scene of them kissing, and so that was really well done in the cinematography, right? I really appreciate that. But then there were other parts of this movie when I was watching it, it just felt really bland, right? And if you go back and watch like Pirates, almost every scene in Pirates of the Caribbean just kind of pops out at you.
One of
Either
the things,
costumes or the colors.
One of the things that I really want us to do at some point is I want us to do like trilogies or like stuff where like, because like again, I don't have any Star Wars movies on my top 10. I don't have any Pirates of the Caribbean movies on my top 10 because like I can't just pick one. They go together. Like no. So like with the Pirates movies, like the 1 through 3. Like 1 is beautiful, yes. 2 is fantastic, yes. And 3, I really like 3. A lot of people don't like 3, but I really like 3. But I need them all together in order for it to be a favorite. And so it's something where, so it's something where with top 10s, I want us to do something where like we actually go through like, okay, what about stuff that like it doesn't stand alone, but when you pair it with the other things that it's meant to be paired with, it's just this magnificent thing. And like my favorites, because like I love the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. They're amazing, but I can't have one without the other two. And so anyway, but yeah,
I just meant just
with the action and whatnot,
taking the filmic aspect of that and kind of I think if you wanted to. Kind of how they did with The Lord of the Rings this past in 2020, where they remastered it in 4K, but they actually remastered the coloring of it. And so you can actually watch the new ones, and the coloring is completely is very, very different than what they did originally. You can do that actually with, I'm pretty sure, if you took the film of the Count of Monte Cristo and you just remastered it in what we have with coloring technology today. And so, yeah.
I guess it seems like it was made with like an older style. Pirates is made with like the newer style, and I feel like Pirates accelerated this is gonna sound harsh, but I think it accelerated the stupidity of like you need, like, basically movies now are to short circuit your emotions, short circuit your mind, so you're able to just be a vegetable for a couple hours and just enjoy and just consume movies.
Pirates 1 was actually
No,
really deep.
I'm saying Pirates accelerated this. Pirates is amazing. I'm saying that Pirates accelerated this. Where
But how would it accelerate it if it wasn't?
because
a big part of it?
everything in the movie is engaging. There's not a single dull point especially in the first movie, there's no dull parts. Like, I love fast forwarding movies. There is nothing in Curse of the Black Pearl that I want to actively fast forward ever. Like, I love Pride and Prejudice. Oh, speaking of which, that's another 3 thing is like Pride and Prejudice, like the one with Colin Firth, the one with Keira Knightley, and then the zombies one. Like, all 3 of those, like, I love them all together, and so like I couldn't pick one because they all have like different aspects that are beautiful. Anyway, with Pirates, it's something where they're keeping you engaged the entire time. You don't get a chance to breathe. And it's beautiful. It's fun. But it's also something where you're not thinking. You don't have time to process while you're watching the movie unless you're really forcing yourself to. And so the older movies...
I don't know if that's a detriment to the Pirates movies. I think they didn't really do that in number 2. They didn't really do that in number 3. They only really did that in number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But number 1 is actually one of the deepest...
Yes.
Psychologically deepest movies, and thematically deepest movies, I think. And so
It's amazing.
I don't know if it would have accelerated. I think it's just I think the other, like, if you're talking about movies that are just there for your instant gratification, those are poor copies of what
Yes.
Pirates is
Well,
meant to do.
exactly. That's why I said it accelerated that. I'm not saying that it is one of those.
But I wouldn't say it's the responsibility of a movie just because it had that, but rather that the movies that followed, which copied that portion, copied it poorly.
It's like young adult fiction. How it's like that's a marketing genre. That's not actually like a plot. Like when you say fantasy, you know what you're talking about. When you say sci-fi, you know what you're talking about. When you say young adult, there's so many things that falls into that, like, you can't just pinpoint it. And so it's something where I call them fluff movies or fluff books, but it's something where with those kind of things where they're just there they're there to be enjoyed. They're not there to make you think. They're not there to like
right, but that's
encourage
always
you or
always
help you
existed.
with that.
Like the Three Musketeers.
But it gets
that book.
worse.
I wouldn't say it
Well,
gets
no, because
worse.
with those, with Three Musketeers, it's like, okay, friendship and loyalty and fighting for what you believe in and standing up against the authority when you need to. Like, that's a beautiful thing to have around you.
That's literally every YA novel ever.
Yes, and that's why they're so enjoyed, is because they're trying to mimic the things that
Right, so
J.K.
it's
Rowling
not-
and like other people in like that when there's, because there's really good young adult books. And movie. Well, no, I'm not going to go that far. There's really good young adult books. Really, 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 really genuinely beautiful, good young adult books that are well written, well thought out, well plotted, great characterization, and all the other stuff that gets really popular is mimicking those and
Right.
essentially doing like fan fiction of those.
So those have always existed, right?
Yeah.
It's just that nowadays, for example, all those things have existed in the past, but those things don't last. And so when we get to our present day, we don't have the things that don't last anymore. We just have the treasures that have come through the past.
Yeah, after all the
Right.
people who watched all the trash are dead.
Yeah, sure, but that'll happen here too,
Okay, but
right?
I care about the here and now, not 100 years from now.
I
care about both, but like
I'm making the point that that it's not that it's more now. It's the same. It's just more in the sense that we're experiencing that part now, right? And so, anyways, coming back to the Count of Monte Cristo. So Dante's, he gets to his swashbuckling days,
and then the smugglers. The next time that we see him, he is being dropped off in France, and the smugglers are like, "Hey, if you ever need anything, if you need us to kill a man, we got you." Like that kind of little like goodbye.
That was actually really
sequence.
sudden for me because there was no development in terms of camaraderie with them,
wasn't.
and so I didn't feel that at all.
Again, this is also a 2-hour movie. They put as much in there as they possibly could in a time where doing series was not a thing. Okay. Again, I would love to do a remake of this where I have amazing
2002.
casting
That
and
was
just
when
like
The Two Towers
actually
came out.
that. Oh. Mm.
So they were in the midst
Talk
of
about
that
good
revolution.
soundtracks.
Does this have a good soundtrack? The Count of Monte Cristo? I don't remember.
It has a good soundtrack. It's not particularly memorable, but it is very good.
Okay.
So it's very, very good. It's just not something that like right now, like I can't sing you any of it. I
Please
don't
don't.
remember. I don't remember. But like if I needed to, I could absolutely sing the Rohan theme from Two Towers. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So it's like it's not as memorable as like Star Wars or as like the other different like really, really popular ones like Pirates of the Caribbean. You know that soundtrack. But it's not overly memorable, but it is really good and very well done. And it does fit the movie very well.
Yeah, I remember some parts, especially at the end when the tension was supposed to be racketing up. I was kind of enjoying the music more.
Supposed to be.
Well, because I
know.
there was a point at the end where I kind of checked out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was just.
Well, you said it was like
music.
Princess Bride, so that's also to be expected.
Did I check out at the end of Princess Bride? I can't remember.
No,
anymore.
you said you didn't, but you said it was close.
It was pretty close, probably.
It was very close. It's also a shorter movie, so you didn't have to go through it as long.
Oh yeah. All right, so
Poor
the Count,
Isaac. He had to
then-
suffer through this.
He then goes.
This was your version of Chateau d'If.
No, it wasn't.
Maybe
it
not that
wasn't
bad.
torturous. It was like Princess Bride. I don't have necessarily a positive or a negative, super negative opinion.
It's just
about
like
it.
a
It's
neutral
just in
thing of
there.
like, if it's on, it's like, oh, I've seen that, and then go on with your day.
I might not even recognize like in a few years that.
That makes me a little tiny bit sad. Just a smidgen.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm okay. I love this movie enough for the both of us. It's fine. But
you love this movie enough for the whole wide world.
Maybe. But there are also people who agree with me. So those
That's
of us
true.
who love it enough for the whole wide world. I'm okay with that.
I would really love to sit like with somebody who goes through with me the symbology and themes of The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
To convince me that it's a good movie.
So this is a challenge. Anyone listening to this who wants to sit Isaac down and walk him through Princess Bride, because I'm just gonna giggle and laugh and say the words the entire time, and then just get like really excited and enthusiastic and slightly upset that he's not understanding me, and it's not gonna go very well. But if anyone else is like, hey, I can show you the world. Like, just go through that with Princess Bride.
Well,
challenge has
I won't
been
be as
been
enamored
set.
as Jasmine, but I will try to pay attention. in
That
those
works.
instances.
Anyway, but basically, so he does escape Chateau d'If. He goes with the smugglers. The smugglers drop him off in France after a few years of smuggling and whatnot, and having a reputation, building his bonding and whatnot with these men. He goes back and he finds out that his best friend married his fiance. His dad is dead. Villefort is now like the mayor of the city. I can't remember. He's their chief of police, something. He's something super more important than he was. He got promoted. And then Danglars, the guy who was jealous of the captaincy, he owns his own shipping business that like screwed over the first guy, the first shipping business that was there, that they were a part of. Like he actually like basically created his own, stole a bunch of customers, and ran the other business into the ground. And so one of the things with the priest was the priest walked him through like, hey, dude, this makes more sense. This is what happened. This is like, your best friend betrayed you because he wants your fiance. The Villefort betrayed you because he's protecting someone really important to him, probably a parent of some kind. Danglars is just jealous of you, and so that one's kind of the obvious one, and like walks him through like, here's what happened, here's what's going on, and that's when Edmund decides that he wants revenges in the prison. I mean, he's like, okay, like, F these people. This is not okay. You ruined and destroyed my life. I'm going to ruin and destroy yours. So when he ends up back in France and he sees these people living and enjoying their life, and he's mad at his fiance too, because she's a countess. She instead of marrying a poor shipping captain, or even if he had become like a really well-off captain, she's still married above him.
Was he angry at her because she did that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, no, because she married him within a month. She married the best friend within a month of him being gone, and so he was just like pissed. He wasn't thinking.
I don't know if he thought that it was because
his revenge on her was taking down her husband.
Rich.
No, because the money wasn't the thing. It was the best friend. Like, you clearly didn't love me because you went and married my best friend the month after I was gone.
Right. So it wasn't about the class status. It was just that she betrayed him because she.
But class started being a little bit more important to him towards the end with the second half of the movie because of that.
Well, so that's where I would go. If that was the case, I don't think the movie portrayed it very well.
Okay, that's possible. And my understanding is in the book, and I'm a little weirded out by this because I don't remember this. My understanding of the book is the fact that he doesn't end up with her.
Yes, if I remember correctly, in the book, he doesn't. They don't end up together.
They do end up forgiving each other, though.
But
I think there was forgiveness involved, but
I don't know about that. But if
he ends up with someone else.
I do remember looking at the summary of the book, and they don't end up together.
Yeah.
Which I thought would have been a much better ending than what we got with this hodgepodge.
I
ending that we
was
had.
a little bit annoyed with Mercedes the first time I watched it because she's just so soft spoken, and she didn't capture my attention until probably until. I think the scene on the beach was cute, but I liked it way more the second time that I watched it through. And when I was like, okay, here's where they're going with this. Okay, I can appreciate her a little bit more. But the first time I watched it, it wasn't until when she got
Oh man,
back.
that was
It
the
took a
worst
while.
foreshadowing ever. the ring.
The never
thing.
take it off.
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought that was so obvious
Really?
that they were gonna. I was hoping
Yeah.
they were gonna be smart and do something else with it. So
But
maybe,
it's also realistic.
no.
Yes.
No.
Okay, you are not as much of a I don't know, whatever I am. Okay, but no, okay. You guys cannot see this at all whatsoever, but I have this ring, and it's something where I've had this since high school. Because I was doing theater, and it's something where I found it when we were going through a whole bunch of things, and I brought it to the teacher and was like, hey, I found this while I was cleaning. Do you know who this belongs to? Did anyone say that they were missing one? And he was retiring, so he was like, honestly, nobody's reported anything like that in the last decade, so do you want it? And I was like, yes. And so he let me keep it, and I was like, this is awesome. And I didn't think it was anything important. I thought it was a fake ring. I didn't know. And then I was like, okay, well, it's not turning my finger green, so this is cool. And then later on, when I was kind of staring at it, because I do that sometimes, a little reminiscent of Gollum, apparently. Anyway, it was something where I was like, wait a second, this is actually
Rosemary
a
is
ring.
Gollum. She just admitted it.
But I can't do the accent.
She's hiding the accent, guys.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Yes, that's what I'm doing. I am hiding my true nature from all of you. You will never know. Anyway, but
That's probably true on some aspect.
but
on every
with
level.
this, oh, of course. But with this ring, with this ring anyway. Anyway, with this ring, it was something where I don't always wear it, but I do keep it with me. And I've actually lost it several times, and I was heartbroken each time. And then when I found it again, or I think there was actually a time where a couple other people found it for me, and it was something where I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so it's very, very special to me. And it's just
Right,
I don't know.
so you don't-
I keep those kind of things.
Sure.
They're important.
Sure.
And so it's something where with that little rope ring, okay, I'm a little surprised that it lasted that long.
Right.
But absolutely, the love
In
of her
perfect
life,
condition
the love
in those
of her
days without any kind of preservative.
the love of her life.
That was clearly another rope that she tied back on.
The love of her life said he was going to marry her. That ring was signifying because he couldn't buy her a ring. So it was a very, very sweet moment. So she kept it and was probably wondering why he never came back. And she didn't really know. She thought he was dead. So if someone that you love dies and there's this thing that they gave you and you really, really love them, you're going to keep it for as long as you possibly can.
I think that is an attitude that very young people have. And so
being ageist here, I see.
I will leave it at that.
Fine.
But I don't.
It's
I
also
don't
just
think
me
it's,
though. I'm definitely a softie when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I still have bubbles from a wedding I went to a few years ago that I refill with bubbles, and part of it's because I like bubbles, but it's also hey, I got to go to a wedding and these people are still together and they're working on loving each other, and it's really cool. So I just enjoy those kind of things.
I think it would have been more interesting film-wise if she had the rope, but she had taken it off, and then you see it that way. And then when she realizes that the Count of Monte Cristo is Dante's, she puts it back on, right? And so it would have made...
It would have showed her honoring her actual husband a little bit more, so that would have been
Right.
cool.
It would have made the film characters, just her, a little bit
More
more
interesting.
complex and
Mhm.
interesting
Okay.
rather than
I get
one note, right?
All right.
And obviously after 18 years, that rope would have died.
16. But yeah,
But yes,
Probably.
16 years.
probably.
And so he goes.
Hey, they used to make things better than they make them now. That is true. However, it's also that was mostly a joke, I promise.
I'm gonna.
He's just making faces at me.
I'm
He's
gonna
just like,
skip
oh, Rosemary.
over this.
Back to the movie.
Massive.
So, basically, he comes back. He sees that everyone's all well off and having fun and living their lives without him, like actually succeeding because he's gone. And so he goes with Jacopo, his true and faithful servant, and goes to the Isle of Monte Cristo, and then he gets Spada's gigantic hoard of treasure, like parts of it anyway, goes back. I love the scene where like they pull up with the wagon. He's like, oh, we're gonna buy this house from you. He's like, how dare you, get off my property. Opens gate, coins fall out. Oh, okay, here's the key.
Oh, that part also really bothered me.
I thought it was hilarious.
No. That part was funny. But so from there he buys the house, right? And buys the estate.
And the hot air balloon.
Buys the hot air balloon, which I thought was really out of left field.
It's so great.
But sure, cinematically it makes a lot of sense.
It's also like if he wanted to show off, like that's how you show off. No one's gonna show up with it's like showing up with a pineapple in the 1920s. Like nobody had those.
Right, so that's what I mean by
it's
like
random. Like nobody has them.
It's very, very impressive. It was well done. So So here is where the film aspect of the story is really, really well done.
You are also more into film, so that makes more sense.
But the logical aspect behind this required a lot more time, right? As a viewer, I would have wanted to see, because hopefully, as I think people who own property know, you can't just buy a mansion and suddenly you're rich. You can't just buy...
Because of taxes?
No, because in order to maintain a property of that size, you need to hire servants.
He probably bought all the servants.
In order to have all these servants work for you on a constant basis, right? In order to keep the lawns well done, in order to keep the house well, and the house is really, like, you can see it's there's no.
I want one.
Right, sure. So it's a palace, right? It's basically a palace kind of thing.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's well kept. In order to have all of that work, you need to have the. It's not actually just a static portion of currency. You need to have an inflow of currency, right? But they don't show that. They don't show how he becomes business savvy in order to actually be able to afford all this.
I think that was part of the priest's training that they just didn't really talk about. I'm pretty sure that was part of that was as how to handle your finances.
No. It's not just mentally handle it. It's you actually have to go out and do stuff.
He
right?
also probably pays.
And this is
he did the shipping stuff beforehand, so he had a little bit of it.
Right.
And then he could
the shipping stuff was
just
smugglers bringing in from his gold into the thing. So unless you're saying that he's still smuggling, which they could have shown.
That could actually been a thing.
Right? But they should have shown it, right? You had to dig through this in order to kind of justify something.
I also have not questioned that. I've watched this movie like 5 or 6 times in the last six times. I watched this movie 6 times in the last year and a half, and I have not once questioned that.
So it's like the deceit of Hollywood in a sense of all you have to do to be rich is to look
just
rich.
be rich.
No, it's to look rich.
And it's
right?
like no, there's a lot that goes into maintaining that.
But some of the poorest people are actually in Hollywood because they don't know how to maintain their 5 houses that they've bought on beachfront properties, right? And so it was a moment of, especially after we've seen The Big Short, it was a moment of it took me out of the story and go, okay, it's become a fantasy rather than a period drama, and that from that moment on, I kind of checked out of the movie.
That makes sense. I feel like. I feel like he was intending to have it as play acting, and so he just needed nobody to like look into that.
Right,
and
which
so
I would
that
have
includes
loved,
us.
I would have loved to see that.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And again, this is where a TV series would be better than a movie,
because you can go even more in depth.
Right, you can go in depth into the trouble that he's having in maintaining his estate, the trouble that he's having in really learning how to deal. Because while the priest can give him head knowledge, he can't give him worldly knowledge.
But it also wouldn't necessarily be entertaining to watch him learn that, though.
I disagree, right? The Queen's Gambit recently made chess really entertaining.
Hey, chess was entertaining before. They just made it more cinematic.
Right. And so many people afterwards have bought chessboards and now are playing chess,
Okay, that
right?
is true.
So if you can make chess look cinematic and appealing, certainly you can make, as The Big Short did,
They
this
could've-
thing.
The way that they would have, in the theoretical way that I would redo it, if that were a thing that I was to pay attention to, the idea would be that his people would love him because he would actually like go out and get his hands a little bit dirty, just a little bit, and help them with what they're doing, so he knows what they're doing and he understands why they're doing it, and he respects and appreciates their work. In my opinion, I don't 100% know. I'd have to like pay a little bit more attention to like
Right,
the.
this is how you're saying you would redo the movie, but the movie itself doesn't portray that very well.
But it does the best that it can, and I don't know of any better version yet.
I think it could have done better. We'll leave my version of making it better.
Oh, but I do
So
like
later.
I do like your take. So
Right.
thank
So
you.
he buys the estate. He impresses everybody, invites them to this party.
Hot air balloon.
Comes in a hot air balloon, which at that point, I don't even know if hot air balloons were invented at that point.
I believe they were, because I think that
Okay.
was the thing I was a little weirded out by too. Was like, was this really a thing?
Right.
And it should have been a thing. There are several
So-
movies that have that in there that are the same time period. So I'm like,
How would they
90%
maintain
sure.
the heat in the hot air balloon?
the fire. That's kind of like.
Way to be extraordinarily naive about how hot air balloons work.
I haven't studied that. I don't.
In order to create a fire, what
I'd
do you
rather
need?
do hang gliding than hot air balloons.
Yes, yeah. But
So I
in
haven't
order
studied
to
it.
in order to maintain the fire,
Mhm.
what do you need?
Like coal or gas or something.
Right, you need.
And
a-
they might not have had gas at the time.
They wouldn't have had petrol at that point in time, so they would only have coal in order to burn things.
They just had like a giant lump of coal just for that one trip.
So, but in order to
From the back of the
have
house to the front of the house.
the basket kind of
Yeah.
float with that amount of coal, you need a much bigger balloon.
Okay.
So there's a problem there.
Math equation. Okay.
There's a problem there, I think, but I don't. I mean, I told you at this point in the movie, I had checked out.
They also might have paid attention to that and like figured out some of the mathy sciencey bits on their own. Okay, fine.
Let me know.
Fine.
Let me know. I will leave that door open. So he comes down,
yeah.
impresses everybody, and begins his revenge.
Yeah.
Fiasco.
Yeah.
Right? First, he hangs the dude on a boat.
That's the first bit.
I believe so. Right.
I thought it was the sun.
Oh no. The
Hangs the
son
dude.
does come before, right? So
Yeah, he meets
but
the son.
The son wasn't really a revenge thing. He just kind of
No, it
wanted to
was.
use him to get
Yeah.
close to
Okay, but it was revenge on Fernand.
right.
Yes, that was part of the
Mondego.
revenge thing.
And so he originally was part
Uh-huh.
of the revenge thing, but then he started to like the guy. Everyone
Henry
likes
Cavill
Superman.
was so pretty. Like I didn't even realize that it was him. I was
Really?
just like, ooh, dark hair,
the-
super blue eyes. Ooh.
The moment I saw
Okay,
him, I was like,
alright.
he looks super familiar, but very young. So he
Yeah.
must be a young version of something. And then the second scene that he was in, I was like, Superman.
Okay, that's amazing, and I'm impressed. I wasn't expecting him to be anyone. That's all.
Yeah, so Superman was in there. Henry Cavill does a very, very good job of acting in here. So I was very impressed. Yeah. And so he comes in, becomes part
Albert.
of, what is his name?
Oh,
Dante's
yeah.
whole thing.
Mhm.
Invites him to his birthday party so that Dante's can
Yeah.
kind of get to meet, quote unquote, for the first time Mondego.
Uh-huh.
And then
And Mercedes.
and Mercedes. And then, of course, Mercedes.
She's like,
recognizes
wait,
him.
I know you. Oh no, wait, you look exactly. I'm so confused. You're supposed to be dead. And then goes
and then
and
he
like,
does his hair twirler thing, and
yeah.
she goes, "Oh, of course
Th-
it's you."
I did get a little tiny bit annoyed with that because do you have any idea how like I'm not a hair twirler. Like I play with my hair a little bit by like flipping it back and forth from side to
I'm a
side with like my
hair
bangs
twirler.
and stuff with your little beard.
Of my
It's like-
goatee. It's like Jafar's goatee. You just have to twirl it a little bit. Poing.
Part of me's just like goat.
Goat. That's where it comes from. Goatee.
I
Because goats have
know,
that.
Yeah.
Much
Anyway.
longer.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a hair twirler, so like to me like my arms just don't naturally do that. So I'm like, why? It looked uncomfortable for him to do that. It didn't look like a natural movement, and I get slightly annoyed because I'm like, wait, no, like that's not. And then
Well,
I'm like,
it
okay,
didn't look
I'm not a
natural.
hair
It
twirler.
definitely
though.
didn't look natural, but I can understand as a hair twirler that
Oh,
that is
okay.
something that
All
people
right.
do.
All right.
But that didn't look
Anyway.
natural. He was going like
Yeah.
this with his hand.
And then I really liked. Oh yeah, no, it was,
That was very weird. It was like he was
really
caressing
obvious.
his own hand hair. I was like, what?
It was fun.
He
it
has
was pretty.
sensual feelings for his hair.
Yeah. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Anyway, okay, that's the weird topic we're not going to get into. Anyway, basically the Count Mondego talks to Villefort? Yeah. They have a little meeting thing on the balcony of like, hey, what do you know about the King of Monte Cristo and all that kind of stuff. While everyone's inside having dinner and the announcement needs to get made for Albert. Like, hey, it's his birthday. He's 16. He's a man now. And it was going to have to be like mom was going to do it. And she
And
was
then
about...
Dante's makes like the
the
speech,
speech.
right?
Yeah.
That makes Superman fall in love with Jesus.
Yeah. It was
does
a
that.
really good.
Good moment.
Yeah, it was a good moment. It was cool. And then Mercedes is like, "Thank you," and he's like, "Mm-hmm," and he's just like, "Yeah." And it was just, I don't know. It was just him still, because he didn't have to do that. He could have just let them be embarrassed. And so for him to just kind of like, oh, dang it. Okay, it was like that. Okay, in my opinion, it was the still recognition of, I still love her. And I think that was when, because like,
Oh, sure.
I think he was
yeah.
still attracted to her before that, and like, of course, and like he knew that, like, oh yeah, of course, my beautiful like ex-fiance, marry my best friend, like, bleh, like bad words in his head, but then at that moment, the moment like either before, after, or during he did that, he was just like, oh, I still love you. Of like that little moment, I think that was the moment for me, anyways, that I thought that he had that moment of just like, all right, I still love you, and he
But from
saves her
there,
a little bit.
From there, Villefort and Mondego plot to steal his treasure,
Yep.
and so, then Dante's like comes and he goes, what does he do? The Mercedes and Dante's, they meet in his carriage. He denies her. Or he denies
I'm not
that he is.
Edmond Dantes,
Yeah.
and then she's like, "Wait a second, I didn't say his last name." Or
Right.
that's the realization as he kicks her out.
Right.
And Jacopo's like, "Dude, give up the revenge. You have a beautiful woman who loves you. Run away with the beautiful woman, please, please, dear God, listen to me. Run away with the beautiful woman who loves you, please.
So
just
I
do
liked Jacopo.
Yeah,
I liked
He's
his
a good guy.
character, but it felt
acting's
like
a little stilted.
Well, actually, I liked his acting.
Yeah,
But I felt like because he's portraying a
silly, funny guy.
midget. Like that's very much.
Okay.
So he's gonna have some as a character. I would imagine in that society,
Mhm.
you don't have people who are very nice to people who are different, right?
Yeah.
And so as a person who is that difference, he's going to have a personality that's more reserved, right? But then he meets this guy that saves his life, right? And then so he pledges. So I actually really liked that dynamic between them, and I think the actor portrayed him quite well in what he was given, which wasn't much. Right.
Okay.
And so when that point came in, and
Oh,
you're
so
like,
it's like the Star Wars prequels. Amazing casting, horrible writing, and they did the best they could with what they were given.
we'll talk about the Star Wars prequels sometime.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. I'm going to hate and love every second of it. It's going to be great. Anyway, so back to the movie. We still haven't finished the spoiler summary. Anyway, so with this, basically you have...
Right, from there, Dantes goes into his revenge mode.
And pretty
hangs the
quickly.
Guy. Yes,
yeah.
that bothered me because the revenge stuff was way too quick. He hung the guy on his boat, and then he went immediately from there to the bathhouse.
For Villefort.
Yeah, for Villefort.
Well, because it was one trap that caught all of them.
Yes, but it was so fast that it was just anticlimactic. Right, I didn't feel the tension rising.
I feel like
I felt like
in my own personal version, I would have had more build up to it, so that way when you got that release of just like, oh yes, he's gonna get him, like, there would have been a little bit more, but they still
totally
did.
agree. See?
But yeah, they still would have done that. So I like it. I like the way that they did it, and it was still something where they did a pretty good job in the bathhouse, though. Of like, it didn't feel
really.
Okay, in my opinion, I didn't feel like it was awkwardly written. Like
it wasn't okay. So everything was done perfectly to me, except Dantes was wearing
full clothes.
the warmest winter clothes I've ever seen.
I love that.
in a sauna bathhouse. Like it was, he would be sweating. It would be like his hair would not be so perfect. Like everything would just be drab. Like it should have, the clothes should have been melting off of him as he was standing in there. But,
okay, all right.
So it was everything was perfect except
but
that
he's
one
done
point.
so much for aesthetic that, like, honestly, same. I would absolutely do that. And
yeah, you might, but you would not look like that.
You don't know.
You would have
You don't
pimples
know.
popping
This
up
is something-
and then popping out as you were in there because you were so hot.
No.
Like you're feeling so warm. Like I
Nah.
can't. Like and you would at least do this. Like a little bit more air. A little bit more air. Right.
Okay, I've also never worn like a full dress suit, so I don't know the whole neck thing.
Go get a Santa costume and go into a sauna. All right, it's not you will take off the Santa suit immediately. There's no comparison, right? Unless you want the Santa suit to just meld to your body.
Part of me's like if they were using a fog machine or something.
Yes, that's what they were.
That makes sense.
So you can tell that there was no heat in the actual room.
Yeah.
The actor for Villefort did a great job portraying him getting all sweaty and all this kind of stuff. But then Dante's character was just way too chill in his Santa suit. So that I couldn't when I was watching that I couldn't like in my head stop laughing because I was like because I mean my wife and I have been in a lot of saunas and everything like that. We've been to those rooms where it's a steam room and you just it's so they turn it up so hot and it's meant to be really hot because you need to sweat all the stuff out. You can't wear a Santa suit in there. It's not
right.
humanly. You would probably pass out from the heat. So at least Dante should have been like. You know?
I feel like I would have been a little bit more like I wish that he'd gotten a little bit more invested in it, but I also get the detachment because a lot of people, those are the two options that you have. Are you have the detachment of like you're gonna say what you did. It's gonna come out. It's gonna be there, or the like you need to say
long,
it. And
right? It took so long.
It was like a solid,
and again,
like,
the drawing out
3 to
that
5
was very
minutes
well
like that.
done.
Yeah,
right? Drawing out. It kind of reminded me
good.
of what is that? Inglourious Bastards at the very beginning. That very very tense moment in the beginning where the colonel is questioning the guy, and it's just it was that moment. So it was done well, except for that. But because that took me out of the movie, I was just laughing kind of the entire way.
All right. Makes sense. I just really, the guy who plays Edmond Dantes, I legitimately, like, he is so attractive to me that, like, I was
Jesus
just like,
is
oh, I
attractive
just.
to you. That's very good. That's very good.
I was just like, oh, I get to stare at him. So, like, yeah, fully dressed, less dressed. Like, I would have been like, okay, whatever.
Right. So that would have been a
You
good
do.
moment to do the whole superhero kind of thing where he's. I mean, you kind of already saw him without a shirt on because they kind of whipped him.
A
and all this kind
little
of stuff.
bit, but it wasn't.
He had the hipster beard. So yeah.
No, that was scraggly. That was not
Right.
pleasantly trimmed.
So let's skip to the end.
S.
Where just as kind of a very brief summary, Dantes finds out when Mercedes like interrupts him or whatever when he goes home and she interrupts him. He finds out that. Oh, actually, no, he doesn't find out there. We find out right after that. Right, we find out that Superman is Jesus' son.
Yes.
And we find that out. And then, of course, during all this time, Dantes has been attacking Guy Pearce's
business
and
gambling
everything.
debts.
And so he's broke. He needs to flee the country.
He's broke AF.
And so Mercedes tells us, the audience, and him at the same time that Superman is Jesus' son.
Albert is not your child.
Yeah.
Why do you think I even married you?
And I thought at that moment, which would have made me come back into the movie, that he was going to kill her.
I thought he would attempt a little bit more on her life, and I was a little tiny bit annoyed that he didn't. Because that's so in character for like Guy Pearce, like that kind of character is like so in character of just like why didn't. And so the fact that he didn't try to. An extra spoiler in the spoiler, like he didn't try to kill her until later. I was a little bit annoyed that like because that would have been the moment where he would have.
Well, so it kind of it did.
I
draw
like
me
the
into
idea of
the
like
movie.
Albert having to protect his mom, and then being confused. I would have loved that.
That was interesting. And so of course, so we kind of skipped ahead there. So he leaves, and then he gets confronted by Dante's without the beard, so now he completely
Yeah.
realizes that the
This
Count
is
of Monte
Edmond
Cristo
Dantes.
is Edmond Dantes.
Mhm.
And then they
He is
have
pretty with and pretty without. It is a very, very, very good face.
okay. All right, so
Sorry.
you can keep
I'm-
going. You can keep going.
You don't want me to keep going because I could keep going for a while.
Well, you can keep going in prayer. I will just leave it there
All right, all right.
because
But yeah, so he goes and he meets. Because they managed to get away with some of the trunks, and they filled the trunks with sand or dirt
Right.
or whatever it was, so that way
So-
it felt like there was gold in
and
them.
then there was that little chess
Little
piece
chess
in there,
piece.
which again was
I love the chess piece.
I hated it.
I love the chess piece.
It was
I love
here is
the
where-
chess piece.
here is what would have made the chess piece really good.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie, if they didn't have the Napoleon thing,
Mhm.
instead they start with Guy Pearce and Jesus
Uh-huh.
playing a game of chess. And they're talking about, and Guy Pearce is trying to get Edmund to admit what he has in his pocket.
Okay.
That would have established two things,
Mhm.
right? One, that these guys, despite their talk of being friends, are in contest, right? Two,
Okay.
that the chess piece actually means something, so that when Guy Pearce gives him the chess piece, it actually has a symbolic significance about it. Okay, and that piece should have been used in the final part of the chess game that they were playing in order for what is his name, Dantes, to win that particular game, right? So, and then that establishes the third point, which is Guy Pearce. He is always struggling with fighting with this guy. He's always jealous, always fighting, never wins, right?
Well, see, one of the things in the beginning, like the things that he wins in are the things that he would lose in the end, and so it's something where, like,
Right.
if
No,
they
no,
were
no.
to play chess,
just the beginning. in the
Dantes would have had to
Napoleon
suck at
Bonaparte.
chess.
No. I don't think so.
You really think that he would have been good at it?
Yeah, because he learned quite a lot.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
all right.
you don't have to have just because he's
But he
not
wasn't. Well, he's not learned or educated,
Right,
but that doesn't
mean he's stupid.
Yeah.
right?
So to know what the pieces do and move forward. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Right. And so
All right.
you have that. If you have that as a setup, just in place of the Napoleon thing, right?
I feel
Because
like
Napoleon
you can't
doesn't
play
actually
chess
really
and
matter.
be good at chess without being cynical, though,
That's not really true.
because you have to anticipate the other person's moves.
So that's kind of it's okay that happens in a film because you're not thinking. All you need to know at the beginning there is that these guys are adversaries despite their friendly demeanor, right? A
But
chess
it goes
game
against
establishes
his
that.
character setup.
If you have that as a setup for his character, it makes much more sense later that he would take the revenge route. Whereas before, he was just this innocent dude
Yeah.
that's been tortured, and you feel bad for him, but you don't really feel like. I never felt like he was out for revenge.
You didn't
I
see him
felt-
as fully invested.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't see any character point to kind of gravitate his revenge towards, right? And so
I think
there's
that was
always
part of it is this. It twists him.
Sure, yeah. But you understand that from a kind of like intellectual level. It's not part
shown, and it's
necessarily
not
of his
a
character.
Emotional
Right.
buildup. Okay.
It's not part of his personality. And so you can use the chess thing
Yeah.
as part of that. It doesn't have to be like a
It could be
Queen's Gambit
interesting.
long game. It can be
Just
literally
the end of the game.
right.
There could even be like
Yes.
4 or 5 pieces on the board.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be. It doesn't have to be Queen's Gambit. It can be just that they're about to end the game. They're talking.
See, the only thing is that the piece is significant because it's the king,
Yes.
and so it's something where like they'd have to have like a separate piece, and then that's the one that they're playing or something. Because it's like
Well,
otherwise...
you'd have to study chess, I guess, if you really want to go that detailed. They didn't have to give him a king. They could just give him a rook or something, right? The rook
It could
is
even
the
have
castle.
been a pawn as like a.
It doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter, right? And so,
No,
but
the king was significant.
the king was good, but it's just because it doesn't have any actual significance. It's just this thing that Guy Pearce gives to Dantes when they're about to leave, and so it doesn't. It has this facade of symbolism,
I feel like
but it doesn't actually have any
My
symbolism.
only question is where the hell did he put the chess piece when he was?
Right. So
That's my
there's
only
another thing,
question
right?
with that. That's
so-
literally it. Is
Right, that could have been a thing where he gets thrown into jail. The jailer's like
looks
he
at
looks at
it.
it. He's like, "This is going to be the only thing you
Trash,
have. Whatever,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
gives it to him. Whatever." And so it could have been this these things, right, you can do in film, and it doesn't take that much time to actually set up a chess game, right? It doesn't take that much time, and so
It
you
would
can
have had
just
to be weighted pieces. Though. It would have been an expensive thing.
not as expensive as what they actually did, which was several shots of these.
No.
land and-
I mean the chessboard. I mean as far as like 18th century like chessboards, in order for it to be on a ship and be weighted and have like the right weight and feel, so that way it's not gonna just move as the ship's moving. You need like a really nice chess set, and Edmund is broke, and so
But
it's
it's not-
something where
it's not
Fernand would have had
Edmund's
to
ship.
buy it.
It's not Edmund's ship; it's the captain's ship.
Yeah, but why would the captain let them sit around and play chess?
Apparently, because the captain and Edmund were good friends.
Doesn't mean that you have time. Just because I'm good friends with the people that I work with doesn't mean that we can also like
Well, at
not
that
do our
point,
jobs.
the captain would have been dead. They're
But then
floating
they
the
would have needed to
boat.
go back to France, so they
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
have had time to go play chess.
Why not?
Because there's stuff on board a ship that you
Have you
need to
been on a
take
ship?
care of, and yes, but not in a taking care of it way. I want to learn how to take care of one.
Yeah, so there are still down times for the crew. It's not like
It's not
like
work
everything.
the entire
yeah.
time.
So this could be one of the things that they do, right? And
All right.
it's just drawing that symbolism. If you wanted that symbolism to mean something, it's just drawing that symbolism so that when you get to the end here and what's his name? It's not Villefort.
Villefort. Wait, what do you mean?
No. The Guy Pearce's character, Mondego. Mondego, when he finds that
Okay.
chess piece in the bottom of that empty chest, it's like there's a boom effect instead of, oh, that's nice, he's there. Oh, that's good job foreshadowing that, right? And so
Okay.
he realizes, right, beardless Jesus is really Dante's, right? They fight, and then
Albert comes in and is like,
Super-
"How dare you
Superman,
fight my dad?"
right? Because he finds out that he was being used, right? And
Yeah,
Dante's
and
never
so-
actually told
and Dante's
him.
is like, I can't like move, I'm gonna hurt
Right.
you, and then it's something where
And then the mother
Mercedes
comes in.
and is like, "Hey, no, don't kill your father," and then it was like, wait, what? And then everyone does a double take except for Guy Pearce's character.
Right, 'cause he knows.
Fernand is like. And he was like, "Wait, you would have let me like kill my dad?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're nothing to me." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
So and then there's the Jacopo is there, right? Guy Pearce is about to shoot somebody, and so Jacopo has his
Jacopo,
knife
I'm
ready.
sorry. I was
Oh,
like,
it's
if you say
Jacopo?
more than once, I'm
Jacopo.
gonna Jacopo.
Jacopo.
Please.
So he has his
Probably
knife
more of a
ready,
Y sound
right?
too, like
Which
Jacopo.
I thought was really great because it goes. He's gonna. I knew Guy Pearce was gonna try to kill Mercedes
Mm-hmm.
at that point because that's the obvious thing to do. But it was symbolically significant, or I think character significant as well, that he thought Jacopo would think that I'm going to save Mercedes as well, just because she is part of his life, right? And so makes him that very much the man's man, right? Best man. And so he throws it when Guy Pearce shoots him.
He would be the best man at their wedding.
Right. So runs off,
Sorry.
and then the
Yep.
part I hate even more, he comes back.
Well, because he's like, I'm not gonna run away from this. I'm not gonna run away and again and have you have everything.
As much justification as someone can give to that moment, cinematically, that was absolutely the worst thing they could have done. And so I'm not going to argue, just because of time, I'm not going to really argue that point, but it's very useless to have the character leave and then come back without some kind of psychological justification that you've been shown previously. So he comes back, and then they have this fight, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And then he says something like, "What about your mercy?" And then Dante says,
I'm a count,
I'm
not a saint.
not a saint," which I absolutely hate. And then they end the film with them at the Chateau d'If. Apparently, Dante's has purchased it, which was not really foreshadowed at all either, but that was very surprising. And then he does the preaching thing, which is he swears that he's going to use it for good rather than for revenge. And
Pretty much.
that's the end of the movie.
It's a good end of the movie.
So my whole
know.
part, I really, really, really did not like, from when Guy Pearce goes and finds the chess piece all the way to that end. That entire ending, I think, it was a little bit like in Wonder Woman, where you have 2/3 of this very, very good movie of Wonder Woman, this Amazonian coming from out of the past into the present, believing that if she killed Satan, her version of Satan, which is the god of war Ares, that it would stop all war, and then realizing that it does not do anything. And then the entire rest of the movie, she's fighting Ares in this massive cinematic showdown that just has no bearing. It's the complete reverse of the entire first 2/3 of the movie. That was what this was like to me. It was as if they had been building up this revenge plot, and where the character of Dante's, to me, would have been more interesting if he had turned evil or died. They just had this nice little bow-tied gift of everybody is happy except the bad guy's dead. And it just... I
actually would recommend you read the book simply because you'll like that ending better.
That's actually when I finished the movie, I remember sitting there and I was going, or maybe I think I was walking around because I had to eat, and so I had to go get dinner or whatever, and so I was done, and did I have to go wash the dishes? Anyways, so
something.
So I had to go do something,
Movement
but I had a little bit of movement, but I was just kind of thinking about the movie, and I was thinking, I bet the book does not end that way. And I bet, and I hadn't researched anything about the book at that point, but I was like thinking, I bet the book doesn't end that way. And I bet the book has a much more sordid ending than this happily ever after.
See, what I remembered from the book that I was like, wait, that's not in the movie, and I could be wrong. I could have remembered it wrong. But I remember Fernand challenging Edmund to a duel. Because Fernand was like this like duelist, and he was like, okay, Edmund
right, that
sucked.
was a big part of
and so that was part of the reveal, was the whole like, I challenge you, we're gonna go meet at dawn, swords at dawn kind of thing. And so it's something where they go and like actually have a duel, and that's where the son goes, is because the second say something or whatever happens is he say something, and so Albert goes to try and stop the duel, not wanting either man to die, and then Mercedes finds out, and I think, I don't remember the rest of that, but I remember there actually being like a legitimate duel, like a legitimized duel of like, there are definitely people that are there. So that I remember that happening, and it didn't happen in the movie, and like that would have been better. And so again, I love this movie. I think it's amazing. Yeah, it's my second favorite movie.
I'm curious, right? It's number 2. It's so high on your list. What is it? Is there something that just makes this so much better than something like Princess Bride that we've seen?
It's really
Obviously,
just
it's
about
better than
like
Palm
it's
Springs.
just about the characters and the plot for me, of just like this specific plot line. Like the only other plot line that comes anywhere close to this is Beauty and the Beast. Like that plot line of Beauty and the Beast, and whether you're talking about the original French version, you're talking about the Disney version, or all the different things in between, like I love
That's
the
really
Beauty
funny.
and the Beast plot line.
That's really funny because I actually, right after I watched this movie, YouTube started recommending me Beauty and the Beast stuff. I was very confused, and so.
Oh, it's working anyway. But Count of Monte Cristo is another one of those like this. I love this plot line. This plot line is like is one of the things that's very close to my heart, and so it's something where the characters. These are characters that I can fall in love with. These are characters I can understand and root for and get angry at and get angry for, and this bleeds into every aspect of my life, to the point where like there's only one other thing that bleeds into my life more than this story and what this story captures for me.
You mean the revenge plot? Are you saying that you will take revenge on all people that betray you? Is this a threat to
I'm a writer. I feel like that's just
kidding.
part of that, but I don't know. It's something where I have been hurt and betrayed by enough people that I can work on loving and accepting and appreciating those people for where they're at, while also not having them in my life. And so I don't need revenge, but there are parts of me that would absolutely love to go and this little tiny bit dark, but it's something where like I would love to go and destroy some people's lives. I'm not going to.
You would love to go into a sauna with a Santa suit on.
Yes. And get someone to monologue about how they've hurt me.
Yes.
Heck yeah. No. Anyway, but yeah. And so
please send me the pictures.
I will.
Send me the picture of you going
the
into
hospital
the sauna
bill when I
with
pass
your
out.
right with your Santa suit, and then the after picture, right? like the Santa suit just melted into your body.
I would
and
just
it's
be so
this-
red because the dye would just seep
Right.
into my skin. Anyway, but there is a part of me that
There's, like,
absolutely.
acne just all
Oh
over.
dear. But it's something where like a part of me absolutely would want to just go and like yell at all the people who betrayed me and be like, you ruined this part of my life. Like I've had to fight to make it better. How dare you? Like what was wrong with you? And so it is very cathartic to watch this, to have this of, even though I'm working on having anger and forgiveness and working with them together so that way I have strong boundaries while also being able to love people, it's something where I haven't healed that part yet. I haven't healed that part of myself that doesn't want to just overthrow the establishment and doesn't want to like tell people off for the things that they've done to me and to the people that I care about. And so it's something where the darkness with this, the light with this, and goes into later, but it's something where these characters, these people, this plot line, this life that they're telling us is something that I hold very dear to my heart, and it's something where I latched on to it as a kid, and I still hold it very, very close to me now. And that might change as I get older. It might change as I want
Less revenge.
Yes. I was like, am I going to have to say that? Yeah, I'm going to have. Okay, so as I want less revenge, I will take care of that. And so it's something where, it's just, and so the music was good. The acting was really, really good. The writing, I really enjoyed the writing, and I really, really enjoyed the casting and the actors and the way everything played out. And I just, the cinematography was gorgeous. I fell in love with the movie the first time I saw it, and I like, at the time, now part of it was at the time, I was like, okay, I don't have a movie that fits at number 2. I don't. I really didn't. It was something where like I have number 1 and I have all the other ones, but I don't have a number 2. And so when I watched it, I was like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for, because I've been searching, and I couldn't find it. And so then I found this one, and I was like, I love this a lot. So anyway, that was that.
There are a few movies on your list.
Yeah.
Because of how I guess I rate Princess Bride and The Count of Monte Cristo.
Uh-huh.
There are a few movies on your list that I am looking forward to watching. And I would be interested once we get to them, because we haven't gotten to them yet. But once we get to them, why you rate this Count
above
of
those
Monte
ones?
above those ones? Because if I were to make a list of yours, the ordering would be quite different.
Oh, I want to know now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll have to do that
at some
the
point
end
later.
because we
Yeah.
can't-
Okay.
yeah.
All right. When we're done, I want us to mix up the top 10 for the other person of like, because
Oh, I know
I need
what
to
your
know-
number 10 for me would be, but but yeah.
you don't know me.
But you've actually admitted it to me before. But
Probably.
okay.
It's possible.
Yeah, that'll be
anyway,
fun.
but yeah, I'd be down. But
Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, so from there, that is the Count of Monte Cristo. Hope you guys enjoyed us rambling about it, where this one went a little bit longer.
It's good stuff.
It's pretty good. Well, to Rosemary, it's pretty good. It was fun for me to finally be able to,
Get that off your chest.
yeah, sort of. It's,
That's how we do this, is he's able to relish and release all of the anger and again, like, I can't believe you made me watch this
I really can't believe you made me watch this movie.
He gets to say that out loud, and I get to talk about the things that I love. So
I
it works out.
didn't hate this, but I didn't really like it either.
Neutral.
Just last
It's
night,
okay.
I thought Princess Bride was better than today. I thought, maybe Count of Monte Cristo is a little bit better. They're pretty comparable.
Yay, that was
yeah.
fun.
So,
Okay, so
next
now-
is we draw from the hat
Da,
for
da,
our
da,
next
da.
movie.
It has been a while. I don't remember who drew last.
Yeah, I don't remember either. So I'm pretty sure it was me.
I think you were the one who drew Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
All right, so do you want
I'll
to shake the
mix
hat?
it. Yeah.
Shake the hat. Shake the hat. Shake
Shaking
the hat. Shake the hat. Blew.
And the next movie will be.
Okay. Sorry.
Usually, I try to keep it a secret of what is on whose list. This time, I
I'm
don't
so
think we're
happy
going to
right
be
now.
able
Okay.
to.
I'm
hide
sorry,
that.
guys. Sorry. The next movie we're gonna discuss is Deadpool 2. And
Okay.
I'm really happy right now. And
Of
I'm
course.
just like, I just pulled out the card, and I'm going to take a picture of the card and put this on the Instagram page so you guys, it's all like just, it's one of those like scratcher ones where like it has the colors underneath the black and you just like scratch it. And so like that's what I wrote all the names on. And it's just like, it's just all messy and I love it. And it's
So
great,
of course
and
it's
I'm
on your
excited.
list.
It's so on
Deadpool
my
2
list.
is
Oh my
on your
God, I'm
list.
so
Do you
excited.
want to reveal the number, or do you want to
No,
save that
we can
for?
say
Okay,
that
we'll
later.
save that for next time.
Anyway, you know it's not number 2. You know it's not number 4. You know it's not number 10. Like, we'll figure it out.
I am
It's in
also
there.
happy we're watching Deadpool 2 because I have seen that movie and I did enjoy it.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
Such a good movie. Anyway, oh, sorry. I was expecting it to be one of the other ones, and I'm just like, this is such a good, like, happy movie to go into. Like, even with the depressing bits, like, I'm excited. Okay, I needed this. Thank you.
I needed this as well. I needed a movie that I knew I would enjoy.
Yeah.
From Rosemary's List. All right, so with
Okay.
that, we are going to go into our dime segment.
Woohoo. Okay, so relatively short quote, and it's by one of my favorite writers. His name is Charles Bukowski, and I am a little annoyed at how much I love him because it's
Who
like
is he? I don't
he's
know.
a he's a poet.
Okay.
He does other things as well, but he's a writer.
A contemporary
but-
poet?
Yeah.
Or- okay.
Yeah, he's
Like
contemporary.
he's still living?
I believe he's still alive. I'm pretty sure he's still alive. I think he's old, but I think he's alive.
It's going to be really awkward.
He's like this 23 nobody.
Yeah.
No, he's just his words are so sweet, and it's like he's probably not as high up as like Lemony Snicket is for me, but definitely up there with like really, really sweet words and really, really sweet just ideas. And so a lot of the stuff that he writes about is like love and life, and that's pretty basic.
So
I
much
guess,
more
but
positive kind of.
It depends. But
okay.
so for example, so with this, so this quote, one of his little poems is my days, my years, my life has seen ups and downs, lights and darknesses. If I wrote only and continually of the light and never mentioned the other, then as an artist I would be a liar. And
That's a long quote.
It's not that long. It could have
That
been
was
like
my first reaction. I'm sorry. I was waiting for a punchline and it just kept going in my head. And I got to admit this. I kind of dropped out in the middle of there, but I think I got something at the end there. So I'm sorry.
Would you like me to read it again so you can hear it?
Sure. For our readers as well, right? No, I'm kidding.
All right. My days, my years, my life has seen ups and downs, lights and darknesses. If I wrote only and continually of the light and never mentioned the other, then as an artist, I would be a liar. And that's something that I hold very true because it's one of those Disney happy endings aren't real. So
This was
happy
definitely
endings
a
can
Disney
happen.
happy ending in
I
and Monte Cristo.
know, but they still talk about the darkness. They still showed the depression. They still showed the frustration and the anger and the rage. And yes, you in your eyes, they could have done it better.
Well, in your eyes too.
I could do it better.
Oh, okay.
It's a little more arrogant than
Whoa.
that. But it's.
I mean, at least you admit it, right? That's
Yeah.
the
Well, all the
acceptance
things.
of.
With
your-
all the things, there are very few exceptions to this, but it's something where all the things that I love, I genuinely believe that I like. Given the time and given, like, if I put in the energy and I put in the time and effort, I could absolutely do something that would either do it justice or make it better. Like, absolutely. Like, that's one of the reasons I write is because, like, I want a story and it's not written yet.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so with this though, it's something where, like, for example, with the poetry book, one of the things is it's the first 2 parts are a descent into madness, and it's something where it's very specific and in an emotionally vague way because you're drowning in the emotions, but it's something where you get all of that darkness. So you get the happiness, you get the joy, you get the frustration and confusion as well, but it's something where you need both. Otherwise it's not balanced and it's not real, which means that the happy ending isn't real. It's just another lie.
So it would be kind of like Dante's Divine Comedy.
You're going to be mad at me, but I haven't actually read that.
Oh, but you know what it is.
Vaguely.
Okay.
I know what it is.
Okay.
I don't entirely know what it's about.
Oh. So this is awkward. All right, guys.
Cricket noise.
Thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode on the Count of Monte Cristo.
Heck yeah.
And we will see you guys next time.
Woo. Bye.
It's a deal.
What is his name?
His name? We should call him Zatara.
Sounds fearsome.
It means driftwood.